before. They'll introduce themselves again and remind us why they're running it, and then we'll open it up for questions. We'll have 5 questions, and then if you're comfortable answering more, we'll ask you, and then, yeah. So anyway, this one.
Okay, so let's begin. Okay, all right, so hello again, guys. My name is Hermes Castillo. I'm from Warren, first year, and my major is human biology. I'm running because I want to make a difference in the community. I want to give back. The same way I felt when I came in here, the same feeling I had. I want people to feel that way, you know, what you guys did. I want to reciprocate that, and if not, do better. And I also want to develop my leadership skills. I want to become a better listener, a better, just someone who's going to be there for you, a better version of myself. And I want to help KP become one of the most welcoming, most diverse organizations in UCSD. And yeah.
Hello y'all, my name is Justin. The reason why I'm running, I'm Justin, I'm from ERC, and my major is biochemistry. The reason why I'm running is because, like I said before, I do want to make sure that the first year class, the Freshperson class, has a solid foundation for the future years of KP. I am aware that the freshman class is affiliated with SPACES, the 5 pillars of KP: social, political, academic, cultural, and empowerment. And I want to make sure that each one of the students, each of us are well set beyond those goals of KP. And I also want to give back to KP. I believe I have a lot of events that will help increase the retention rates. It will also help them feel like they have a better transition here into the university. Many of those events I want to explain later on. And I believe that I can work with many of the officer positions here, such as the youth outreach coordinator, or the student activities coordinator, or even the marketing communication manager, to help publicize my ideas that I have in mind for the Freshperson class. So that's the reason why I'm doing it.
So now I'll open it up for questions. We'll go NHS.
Okay, so since y'all are, fresh people and still getting used to the space, how do you plan on getting back to the community that you're still getting familiar with yourself? Anyone can start.
Okay. Even though that I am transitioning into university, coming into university, definitely not being familiar with most of the things. I think in general, being affiliated with KP will help allow me to better myself in a lot of the areas of the 5 pillars of KP, which is why if I was to study those more, become more involved with KP, I can give back to the community. There is many events like giving back for them to events that I do have in mind, such as the KAA performance night. So I believe that maybe having a Kuya Ate Ating performance night, having the freshman class coming together, being able to have us together where we perform in front of each other would only break down the barriers of social within our KP class. So it would allow us to be able to become more comfortable with each other. So KA performance night. I also have movie nights that I want to incorporate into KP. So giving back to those would allow them to become familiar with the Filipino cultural traditions, and it would also, I would help give back to them by just having them come together and being able to transition well, knowing that they have the support of others, which is what I believe they need.
Okay, so you were asking how, what I would do to make the transition easier for...
How would you give back to a community that you're still getting familiar with yourself?
How would I give back to community? So like Justin said, I believe in smooth transition, which means that, when we all came here first, I'm sure that we were all nervous, we were all excited, for the things to come. And I think to help with that, we need activities that will make people get comfortable with each other. Icebreakers, like what you guys did, the bonfire. I think that really helped because that was the first event I went to, and that really made me comfortable around you guys. And just to get to know each other, social gatherings. So just like easygoing activities at first to make everyone, see what it's like and make everyone think that, oh, okay, KP, that's a good, and to after that, when people start to get comfortable, people start committing to KP, that's when I feel like we could start doing, the bigger activities, the ones that are much more, arduous, like fundraisers, karaoke nights, or whatever you guys have. And I will coordinate with every coordinator to make sure every activity is planned and to make sure that the best activities will be planned. Thank you.
Hi, I have a question. So the KP program is a very interesting thing where a lot of people are introduced to KP through that. So a lot of people also have criticized the space and the programs to be too social, which is fine because that's also how we retain a lot of people. But how are you going to incorporate space in the mentorship program itself where a lot of people join and try to get a clear adding with that in mind, like, oh, like it's gonna be fun for me, like I'm gonna go to random things with my family or clear out there. When it's really about mentorship and retention. So I guess my question is basically like, how would you reframe the program in and of itself while retaining the aspects that are good about it, but also maybe reconstructing aspects that are bad about it?
So your question is, how would you incorporate spaces in order to help retain students and to also...
So not space is the center, but I guess
like
space as in social, political, academic,
Yes.
cultural.
Okay. So...
Hermes goes first. Or
Oh.
Hermes goes first.
Okay. So you're asking how? Can I get the question? How would I help support or strengthen that bond, in the families, and help people know about it? Is that what you're asking?
No, so I'm not gonna lie, KP is fucking fun. But the point is that people just join it for the fun when the nuances of the KA program as a Kuya Ate Ade program is lost sometimes. It's not like we chose Kuya Ate Ade just for shits and giggles. There's reasons why we have nuanced words like Kuya Ate Ade with a sense of family, community, care, retention, but people just see it as a way for me to fucking party in college when that's just residual effects of the program. It's part of it, but it's also not the bulk of the program is not that. It's about us staying at university, finishing, taking care of each other's mental health, and staying here. But there's people literally every time that join because they hear that their friends are having fun, but they don't join for hey, I'm trying to find a community. Hey, I'm trying to learn more about my culture or the Filipino culture because the org's not just for Filipinos. I don't know if that contextualizes it more.
Okay, so I think a lot of that involves just personal preferences. So people have their own opinions about KP, and I have no experience with the family program, but I've heard so much good things about it from the people who are, and I hear from people who don't even I don't see much, but they talk good about it, and I think that's one good key component. We can have people who are in it and share and let people know that it's not all about just having fun and just partying and just giggling. It's having family, having establishing foundation spaces and becoming better versions of ourselves. That's how we should do it.
So, what I understand from your question is, how would I incorporate spaces being freshman exec into given that we know what spaces is, the 5 pillars, the social, political, academic, cultural, or empowerment, given to know about those definitions, there are many things that I believe that I can provide for them. Because, like you said, KP, people believe that it's just they're in for the fun. But I believe being Freshperson Exec, there's many things that KP is affiliated, like spaces or Starboard. And being part of spaces and those 5 pillars, I believe like on the political or the political spectrum, there are being able to have KP affiliated more with like spaces in general, the 5 pillars, like the political spectrum. I believe talking with the gender sexuality coordinator, officer coordinator, organizing like workshops for the fresh person class. You may be going to the QTPOC, the queer, trans person, gender. You know, of those people, being able to attend those workshops would have them have a better understanding of the political debates about gender and sexuality. I believe that's one way that KP can become involved with on the political pillar. I also believe for the academic pillar, there are many academic programs here in UCSD, and OASIS being one of them. It would provide academic support for the KP Fresh class, and just being able to publicize that there are programs to provide academic support for helping for your academic pathways in this university, such as OASIS or spaces in general, the room that you guys are able to provide for those who need areas to study in places in times where they can't. So on the academic spectrum, I believe that's also a way that it can contribute. Empowerment. Well, empowerment can mean many things, but I believe it's like determination and like determination yourself, your motivation to achieve something. And an individual myself running for Fresh Exec, I believe that as Fresh Person, it's empowerment and your belief that you want to achieve it. You don't get nothing done if you don't publicize your ideas. Like, and in a way, empowerment is a way to just establish what you want, what you have for the future, what you have, the ideas for KP. So for that, and then also being able to provide my ideas that I have, another way for spaces to become affiliated more with KP for the pillars is marketing communications manager. I know that the coordinator is one of the positions here in KP, and being able to communicate with that officer would only help me publicize my ideas that I have set out for KP. So it would make it a lot easier because I know that for one person themselves, it's really hard to publicize their ideas, which is why you have KP and KP support. You have to support one another. So being able to just ask each other for help, it only helps you get your word out there. It makes it stronger.
Being that, like, as Fresh Person Exec, since it's not like just for your first year, since it's going to be your position throughout like all your 4 years, how are you going to deal with like cliques? Because it's like cliques are like inevitable and people are going to be friends with different types of people. So what are you going to do about like people that come into the space, say as like next quarter or like within their 3rd year, and then they're not going to feel comfortable within the space? So how are you going to deal with that? And how are you going to deal with making sure people aren't too cliquey?
Okay. Oh, sorry. All right. So, like I said about the 5 pillars of spaces, the social spectrum of that, the social aspects is something that I believe is important to. I guess it's really important to have. I mean, given the knowledge that there are people who join late, who join later on in the future in the KP, it is hard for them to be able to feel comfortable with one another. Which is why creating events like the KAA Performance Night, Kuya at the Adding Performance Night, would allow a lot of us to become united together in order for us to have those social barriers broken. It would allow us to be able to be more comfortable with one another. Also, I believe just like I said, in having other events like movie night or Lumpia night, like rolling night, where we can have Lumpia rolls. So this was one of my ideas that I had that I wanted to like get out there was the Lumpia fundraising, and it's like I would like get that idea out there and invite the Fresh Person class to come to this event. Even like it is a fundraiser. So a fundraiser isn't something you just do one time. You could do it many times. And if when you seek out those fundraising ideas, you manage to see which ones are the most promoted ones. So like the ones that are more efficient. So maybe like having a fundraising idea like that and getting that idea out there, allowing for those people who are not able to transition as well, who are looking for a space, who are looking for people to get along with. That's also something that could contribute to like the social barriers being broken, where all of us are able to be comfortable with one another. So that's just some of the ideas I have in mind. I do want to announce more later on, but that's what I also have.
Okay, so you said like how would you deal with like the clique situation?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
dealing with new people coming into the space.
Yeah, that's a good question, and I've seen that in here, and that's something that's unavoidable. And to help with that, I feel like what we can do is like in GBMs, like what you guys do when you warm up with the games, whatever it's called, when you have like a big circle. Activities like that to get people involved, to just get people to like interact with each other, and with the chance or with the hope of them meeting and building new friendships. I think that will help with the clique situation, and just activities in general. Like I really love the beach and the bonfire. I think that's really something like really easy to do, at the same time really effective in bringing people together. Alongside with that, we can do other stuff like camping. We can do like karaoke nights to get people comfortable with each other. And yeah, the friendship games. Yeah, promoting it. Thank you.
So how does retention work serve as a political purpose for students of color in the university? So how does retention work serve as a political purpose for students of color in the university?
That's a really good question. I think by retention, you mean just the retention of underprivileged students, like the minority in students in universities like UCSD and others. To my understanding, I think that means like how would you keep them motivated? Okay. I think that groups like KP, I forgot what it's called. What is it called? ASAIP? Something like that.
APSA?
APSA. Yeah, sorry. There you go. Yeah. Groups like that to just help for underprivileged, for minority students to come together and feel like they have a family to belong to provide, to be there as like a figure of motivation for them, to let them know that you can do it. Just because you're underprivileged doesn't mean anything. That just means that there's not a lot of you, and that means that you're capable. You're just as capable of like everyone else. And I think that helps with retention, letting people know that you can do that. And yeah.
So with dealing with retention rates, as I said before, I don't want to be too redundant, but I do know that they fall every year is because they don't find a space that they're comfortable in. But now coming back with more knowledge of the KP Star or KP in general, I just would like to talk about the trips to the conferences for the officer that runs the conferences, SOCC, Students of Color, which was the Social Awareness Coordinator. Social awareness. The officer that runs the social awareness, it could just be on the social aspects, but as well as the political aspects as well. There are many political issues being an underserved, underprivileged individual coming into university. Many of them don't have that social justice, the equality of wealth within each other as an individual. So that means like achieving social justice is equality with one another and being able to have no misrepresentation of one another, which is why I believe going to conferences such as the SOCC or the Filipino Awareness Community, the PAW, where we can also explain the because we are also affiliated with the SAAC, Student Academic Affirmative Committee. And since we are affiliated with that, I believe being able to communicate with that officer who's in charge of communicating with, like such as the COMAC, who works as the code with the other officers, with community activism, with Adrian. Like I said, I believe that just being able to have the fresh person class involved into many of those conferences would only have them have the ability to have the awareness of political and the social aspects that goes on with the retention rates. It would allow them to have an understanding that they're not the only ones alone coming into a university. They have the support of others, and just having that awareness allows them to be able to be retained into a university.
Okay, so oftentimes people compare our KA program to Greek Life Big Little system. How do you plan on differentiating and showing the difference between the two?
I'm not familiar with Greek life. I know that they are fraternity or sororities. There are many organizations here, but like I said, I'm sorry, what was the question again?
Like, so people compare Greek Life Big Little system to like our KA program. How do you plan to show the difference between the two?
Okay, I'm sorry, can you elaborate like a little bit on the Greek life Big Little system?
On Kaylee, would you like
I don't think it's a sorority.
So Author Jess is my author, and I also have a big. So basically, for Greek life, your big serves as a way, as a first person you kind of meet, that helps you transition into Greek life and getting used to like being in a sorority.
Okay.
Or like it's another mentor too.
So in a way, it's another mentor, and I believe that just comparing another organization with another one, I mean, you can't really classify the individualities of one another because, I mean, they run on different pillars of each system. They may have a different mentor, but either way, Ate Kathleen, she's in both the Greek sorority and she's also in here, so she has the support of both. But so you're saying how do you classify the differences between? I believe that in KA there's social, political, and there's the spaces aspects where we need to connect to. And I believe in Greek life, they're like an organization. You can join different organizations of sororities or fraternities depending on what you want to have in a career outside of the university. So I understand that there's a health one. There's specific Greek life organizations. And I would compare that with KA because KP is because KP works on all spectrums of those situations. We allow the retention rates to stay here in the university to increase. We help the support of them academically. We also help them culturally. And like I said, the differences between that is that KA works with all aspects, whether it being whatever they want to become affiliated with in an organization outside of the university after for like their graduate or for their career. We work on all aspects, but for Greek life, it's like you have a mentor there to support you like KA does, but there's also specific ones depending on what you want to join. So that's how I would classify the differences between.
Okay, so like how I would differentiate that. So for IFC Greeks, fraternities or sororities, it's either a brotherhood or a sisterhood. From my experience, when I rush, you kind of have to find where you belong, and you're gonna have to hope that you get a bid from them, and that's more of like a selection process, you know, the holistic process, and they base that on like really unbiased things like how you look or how you talk. And I mean, I respect that. That's how the IFC Greek councils work. But for KP, there's no selection process. It's all about just welcoming each other, no matter what you are, what you want to be, who you are. It's just something everyone can go to, and we don't we're not here to like pick one over the other. We're here to welcome everyone, and that's, I think, the most important part of KP. It's not a brotherhood or sisterhood. It's all family. It's all family. So that's how I would differentiate between, IFC Frats and KP.
So that was 5 questions. Are you comfortable answering more questions?
So this question's usually for comment, but I think as Fresher Exec, this is essential for you. So KP has been criticized for being too political, and a lot of first years aren't exposed to this type of dialogue. So how would you, make social justice accessible to first years and make sure of the importance of it, ensure the importance of social justice?
So like I said, your question being, how would I express the importance of social justice
How do you make this
for a fresh person class? Well, social justice being like the inequality, being the inequality of wealth or underclass society, meaning that there is no classification of social justice. I believe that on that spectrum, I just, like I said earlier, just having them attend those conferences would help them really be aware, especially with like SAAC, because COMAC does work with Kuya Adrian as the co. So they are affiliated with communicating with many of the or students of color or NSA or any of the organizations within SAAC. So because students of color are often stereotyped as individuals, the people who are, you would say, they don't have enough wealth as many people. Coming into university, you are stereotyped that way. I just believe those are one of the ways you are stereotyped. Like I said, social justice is equality, whether it be wealth, whether it be personality, or within each other. Going to those conferences would help them be aware. Also providing workshops for the fresh class of the cultural, for them to learn about like the cultural aspects of colors, of students who are often misunderrepresented, who are often I don't know how to say it, but misrepresented. Creating workshops for the fresh class, where like, I guess what I would say, my plan was communicating with the COMAC officer and their co, being able to have students, I'm so sorry, having students being involved in the SAAC organization, going to those conferences that you have to go, because it is one of the requirements as being the officer of that position. So oftentimes I would want to communicate to the freshperson class and have them to be aware to be able to go to those events. So that's how I would have them. Have them represented for the social justice. Sorry.
Okay, so when you say too political, can you elaborate on that? Because I don't really understand.
So KP is known for being a social org. That's what people do. Like Kuya said, everyone comes here to the party, right? But KP also serves as a political purpose, right? And so a lot of first years get really intimidated with social issues, talking about social issues, because it makes them uncomfortable. So what would your response be to them, and how would you ensure that social justice is important to learn and know?
Okay. So yeah, I believe social justice is important. But to deal with that, I think the best way to do it is just to basically make people more comfortable, and basically what we would do in our activities, making sure everyone gets comfortable, making sure people get to know each other. And once people have fun, and once they have that feeling of that they're comfortable, I think the political aspect kind of incorporates in, and it starts not mattering anymore. what I mean, what I basically mean is like once you have a lot of fun, like within KP, the political aspect won't really matter that much, you know. So yeah, thank you.
So your position mostly involves STAR and retention, but what can you do to help the Yokos and address access?
What was that? What was the last part?
So like, what can you do to contribute to CORE's values of access work? Even though like you're mostly involved in KP STAR, which is student academic teaching academic retention, and so you're mostly, involved with retention work, but like, what can you do to promote CORE as well? Because CORE is also part of KP, and, as Fresh Exec, you should, or you could get your first years involved in all aspects of KP, right? So what can you do to promote CORE, which is community outreach through life empowerment? So what can you do for access work?
Okay. So to me, raising awareness, that's one big important part of it. Like in GBM, what you guys did to like basically present like, CORE and STAR, making it aware to other people. And through social media, I think social media plays a big role in our society today. It's like Facebook, Instagram, all those other stuff. So promoting that and letting people know that they have resources to go to. In whatever problem they might have, there will be people for them, and there will be people who will help them, through their struggle and navigate them through their college experience. So yeah, basically just raising social awareness and awareness for all the resources that people can use.
Okay. And I'm sorry, can you please repeat the question, because I kind of forget, like.
Oh yeah. Okay. So your position as Fresh Exec, you're mostly involved in KP STAR and retention work. But what can you do, because as Fresh Exec, like you could kind of like get your fellow first years to get involved in all aspects of KP, and CORE is an aspect of KP that's sometimes overshadowed because it doesn't really involve us directly. So what can you do like to promote access work or like you get involved in CORE?
So given the knowledge of CORE, community outreach, empowerment, I believe that because as Fresh Exec, we create many events for the officers, maybe like we create officers for retention. Like we create activities for officers to increase retention, and knowing that CORE is community outreach, I believe because it is oftentimes overpassed. In order for CORE board to also publicize more is to be able to, I don't want to say what he said, but also on the social aspects, but being able to publicize the events that CORE might also make as well. Alongside with that, as Fresh Exec, creating events in order, like, what your question was to also
Just to get like
just creating access work. What other things can I create as well? Like
just
access work?
Like how would you get your class to like understand access work and like why it's important and how to get them more involved in it instead of just like retention? Does that make sense?
And can you elaborate on access work? I'm sorry. It's
So access work is when you try, like there's, so CORE does on-sites, right, for Morris High School, and it's typically an underrepresented community that doesn't have the proper resources to get here to where we are. So,
Yeah.
like, does that kind of...
So also like being with the, knowing about the youth outreach coordinator, I know that they have conferences at other high school conferences. So being able to have as a first year to be involved in maybe those conferences, because I know that the youth outreach coordinator goes to those high school conferences, and I believe that as a first year I can have like the first year students participate into those events where they can explain the transition or maybe even give advice. So I think that's one way that they can also participate, given that the youth also reaches out to the community, and so.
So as Fresh Exec, you will be working closely with the Vice Chair Internal to pair people through the KA program. How would you handle any disagreements you might have with your co?
Okay, so handling disagreements, I mean, because I'm pretty sure we might run into a situation. I mean, it's kind of inevitable because not everyone can get along with the person that they might get paired with. Being in a situation like that, I would want them to communicate with the kuya or ate, creating that special bond between the two and having communication between them would allow them to have more of an understanding of each other. Also, if there is like a disagreement that they might have, I would want them to find ways for them to find bonds or a relationship with one another in order for them to have a better understanding. And because like I said before, having that bond with either your kuya out there or even it being the mentor outside of KP in another organization, it just helps you feel comfortable with one another. So I would also want to communicate that alongside with Ate Jessica. If there is a problem, I would want to ask, because there's no problem in asking help or advice from KP Starboard or KP Core Board, all of you guys. There's no problem in asking for help and how I would deal with the situation, but personally I would just have them communicate first, and if there's a problem I would want to bring that up into the Starboard meetings as well.
Okay, really quick, I think the question is like, how would you handle like disagreements with me?
With you.
Like while we're pairing, like what is like, no, that's okay.
Sorry.
It's okay. That's fine.
Y'all's face were just like, and I was like, it's so scary.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, like if I pair with like either of you, I'm just gonna cross.
Oh, and we like disagree with that?
Yeah, any
Okay.
kind of like disagreement, how will we like handle that?
So I believe that you guys asked previously when you said what are the three components that you believe that you should have, and I said respect, communication, and like understanding with one another. So I believe that if I was to run into like a disagreement with you, which I don't see myself running into like any complications, because running in this position you are to have those values of communication with one another. So coming into this position, I don't want to have any disagreements. Like, I'm a pretty easy person to talk to, and I don't know if anyone believes in, what is that? Pisces or like, I'm a Pisces, yes, horoscopes. So I'm a Pisces, and like my personality is like, I love getting along with others, and like, it's easy to like communicate with them. Like, if there's a problem, like I would ask advice from one another, but I'm just saying I don't see a problem being coming up between you and I at all, because I don't like getting into like situations where there's problems with others. But thinking about, I mean, not trying to not give an answer, but if I was to run into a problem, I would want to communicate with you. I definitely would want to find where there is a disagreement. That way we can elaborate more on it, and then we can fix those issues. But like I said, I don't see problems between anyone here in KP, because KP is like a family to me, and it's also, when I came in here, it was like my home away from home. And before I was even in KP, I met everyone else, so they're the ones who also retained me into this space. So yeah. Go ahead.
So like me, I'm the type of person, like when there's a problem, I get it done with immediately, or basically just avoid the problem as much as possible. And so when there are disagreements, and I don't think there will like be as much because I'm an easygoing person. It's obviously like you have more experience in the field, I would give you more leeway. Like I would take your advice, and I would give you my advice too. But at the end of the day, you have the power you have the power. You will decide at the end of the day. And I'll work with you like to make sure that like the best parents get done. And when there are arguments, like we can always compromise. We can talk about it. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's up to you. It's really up to you. I'm just here to give you advice and like help with it.
If you don't get the position, how do you plan on still being an active member of the organization? Let me repeat that again. So if you don't get the position, how do you plan on still being an active member of KP?
Okay. I'm really excited in participating in like the family program. I think that's like what I hear most about you guys. And yeah, I'm really excited for that. And like I am willing to stay committed as an active member. Go to the events, spread like awareness, and just let people know that KP is like a group that will be there for you if you need like someone to be there for you. If you feel like you need a family figure, you can always join KP. And yeah, I will stay committed.
So I've kind of like prepared myself in case I don't get this position, but I just want y'all to know that even if I don't get this position, I running for this position, it takes a lot of like guts to even run in the first place. So why would I want to run for something and then just go away from all of y'all? Like, I came here to be with y'all, and that's why I'm here running for this position, so I can have more connection with y'all as well. I am aware that a lot of those who do run for a position, they're not retained in this space, so they end up just leaving because they feel like discouraged because they didn't get it. But there's no reason to feel that way. It's just, it's supposed to be equal. It's a democracy in a way, so like a voting process, so it's not like you have to have that mentality where, oh, they didn't want me or anything. But I came here because I want to be with y'all and I want to continue to be with y'all. And even if I do not get retained into this position, I'm still going to be involved and in ways that I can also participate, and I would want to like also go to the meetings and give my opinion as well. Even though I don't have the position or I don't have the title, I want to be with y'all because it's like another family. So.
Any other questions? Okay, so this question is for fun. So did you watch like Avatar?
Oh, I love Avatar.
So you're talking about the movie or the cartoon?
The cartoon.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So in the Avatar world, which element or kingdom would you belong to?
Okay, so water. I'm a Pisces, so I'm a fish, and I love water. And like being able to like bend water is just like, ooh, I could put water on you, I could put water on you, like just like that's an element I would want to have. But if I had the choice, I would love to be that avatar with all elements. Just saying. Like when I was a kid, I used to be like, those movements, and my mom was like, you're weird. No, I'm not weird. It's like I was inspired by this cartoon. One time, actually, fun fact. I was Avatar for Halloween in my 6th grade class. Just say, I threw an arrow on my head and I went bald, and everyone was like, dude, that kid's a retard. But like, no. But yeah, but it was a fun fact. I was Avatar.
Picture for your lying.
Huh?
Pixar didn't happen.
No, it really didn't happen. I have a picture. Like I have pictures. I'll ask my mom. She'll send me. I had an arrow on my head when I was little. Yeah. I swear I will bring it out to you guys. I swear. Like right now after this, I will call my mom to send me pictures to like show y'all. Like it's no joke. I was bald, but yeah.
Okay, so me, like, I didn't really watch, I'm sorry, I didn't really watch that show, but I would be, like, more of, like, the water type, because, like, I like water, I like the beach, and like Justin said, like, I would do that, I would do all that stuff, too, when I was really young, but, like, with Naruto, or, like, something else, yeah, I would watch Naruto, or, like, Pokemon, like, something. Yep.
You're supposed to say too?
Or, like, when you go run like that, like, I would do that, like, back in middle school, yeah, those are fun.
Yeah.
Everything good?